welcome to another Keelhauled podcast. I'm your host, CaptainLogun, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news to cover today, so tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you had yourselves a good week and a good weekend. I know I did. This week, we have a lot to cover as March update has landed, and there's a new hunting spears that are also making quite the landing. There's some information about that, as well as some of the bugs, fixes, and changes that have come to Sea of Thieves thanks to some of the updates from Drew and the forums where he has been posting. A lot more to talk about, so let's get into it. But before we get into any of that, I have to thank the patrons. They're the ones that went over to patreon.com/Keelhauled podcast to show their support for this content. And as such, I always like to make sure that I call them out to let them know that I appreciate their support. It is helping pay the bills. It is helping take care of the software costs, the hosting, and just to make sure that things like internet and Ancient Coin get paid for. So it's always appreciated, but never expected. So I want to thank all the patrons that are in here. And just a reminder that we are going to be having April's next Patreon community episode. That is going to be on, let's see, that's going to be on April 26th, that Saturday at 2 p.m. Pacific time. It's going to be 5 p.m. Eastern time. And I believe, 10 p.m.? Oh, no, you know what? I actually need to change that because it should be 9 p.m. GMT. I don't know why that's set up at 2 p.m. Oh, you know what? I bet it's because of the daylight savings time and it pushed it forward an hour. I'll get that changed. It'll be at the normal time that it's usually at, which is usually 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4 p.m. Eastern, and 9 p.m. GMT. Regis is really my only Oceanic member that comes in. He's always up at like 5 a.m. So bless his heart for actually doing that. So but that is going on next month. Sure, we're going to have plenty of stuff to talk about between now and then, since we already had our one for there. So this week I'd like to call out all the patrons. So thank you to A-Chick, L-Cute, Balls, Blue Turtle V1, Captain Shonky, Captain Longsharts, Choppers, 918, Chateau Neuf, Super Pack, Zombie Killer, Cloud, Cosmic Johnson, Static Mirror, Davram TV, El Jefe Esteban, Godhammer 6, Carl Embo, Kylea the Aficionado, Evil Morpheus, Space Admiral Ors, Xbox Mike 29, Mutinous Max, Regis Stella the Brony Pirate, Ribloid, Rustbelt Kid, Shoe Daddy 13, Skamelt 666, The Demon Jester, Tommy D, TN Professor, Vibrolux, Wailing Witch, Big Bad Pad, Mina Fairy, The Lore Chronologist Deadeye Dre, Hager Owl, Jeff H, Captain Duckweed, Evil Martha, Peter Miller, Rooski Doo, Thor Von Blitz, Luke Lord, Thor Von Blitz. Yeah, no, I said that right. I'm second guessing myself. Luke Lore, the Insipid Ghost, and Zam. Wow. Thank you all so much for your support. It really does help. I really do mean that too. So with that, let's get into this episode because it's going to might be a long one. Yeah. All right, let's talk about the latest bundle and crossover that came over with Sea of Thieves. I've actually been very surprised that this came in, as I didn't think that this would be something that I would have seen, given the nature of it. And I'm talking about the Destiny 2 and Sea of Thieves collaboration. This is something that they have apparently been working on for a while. There was actually an Xbox Wire article that went out that interviewed Adam Park, who is the director of brand and licensing over at Rare, as well as Adrian Andrea Warren, director of creative operations at Rare. The oversight of this by the pair of them was to try and create Destiny 2 into Sea of Thieves by acknowledging that Sea of Thieves and Destiny 2 do have co-op partnerships with the players. They do jump in and do this. And I think that they've done a really good job representing Destiny 2. The bundle itself has quite a bit of items in it. The first off is the quote unquote light bearer costume. And this is actually representative of a character in Destiny 2 called Drifter. Drifter is an interesting guy. He's got a great accent, and he is kind of in charge of a mode in Destiny 2, which is the essential PvP VE mode called Gambit. Gambit is a really fun mode. It's one that a lot of the community over Destiny 2 don't really like, and unfortunately Bungie hasn't really done a whole lot with that mode in its existence. But Gambit, being one of the more rambunctious or kind of like high-spirited characters for Destiny 2, is really kind of fun to see him be chosen of all the characters that are in Destiny 2. Who could it have possibly had been? Zavala kind of comes to mind, as he is, especially with Lance Reddick passing away a couple of years ago at this point, I think. It was definitely easy to kind of look at that one and choose that one. But Drifter makes a lot of sense given the context of what he is overseeing in Destiny 2 with the PvEVP mode, or PvP VE mode. And they've done a really good job with the costume. He has a emote that I really love in the game. I think it gives you the costume emote that when you put it on, it actually like replicates some of the like what Drifter would do in Destiny 2. So if you're not too familiar with Destiny 2, apologies. I'm going to wax poetic about this a little bit, because I have been playing Destiny 2, or I did play Destiny 2 for quite a few years, and did raiding and stuff like that. But the costume emote's really nice. It shows Drifter kind of doing little magic tricks with a coin, which he does in game, where he kind of makes it disappear and then he pulls it from his ear. But he's always kind of the shot caller in Gambit. So he's always the one to sit there and say like, hey, this is who you're going to be fighting, outside of just having to stop the other Guardians who are trying to win the match. So he'll call out the different enemies and stuff. And he has fun little ways of kind of like choosing the coin that is going to represent either like the Fallen, the Vex, the Hive, you know, and he has little catchphrases for each of them. But I really do love what they did with the costume. It's very close to what is in Destiny 2 as well too, even down to like the medallion and the shoulder pads and stuff like that. They've done a fantastic job with it. Also in the bundle are 4 weapons. These skins represent 4 different exotics from Destiny 2. The blunderbuss is called the Lightbearer blunderbuss, but it is actually representing the Lord of Wolves shotgun, which was actually something that was brought back in August of 2018 with the Forsaken expansion. It's a really great gun as far as the shotgun goes. Not too many people really use it too much, but it's definitely one that is used I think in PvP a lot more. And the little blurb under it says, with this in hand, you'll be Lord of Wolves, skeletons, krakens, you name it. And that's in reference to the mode, as far as like the actual mode of PvP in Destiny 2. Then they've got the Lightbearer's Cutlass, which was actually new to me, because this actually came in most recently with the Final Shape, which was the latest expansion to Destiny 2, which I haven't actually played through, called Ergo Sum. And it looks really on point. It looks like they did a really good job with it. I'm really surprised that they were able to get as much of it as possible. But I don't really know a whole lot about this sword and how good it is. So just glad that they brought that in, that it's a little more recent. The ones that really brought life to me and really gave me a reason to want to pick these up was the Eye of Reach, which is Whisper of the Worm, which is came in with a Warmind back in 2018 with the Worm Gods update, Season of the Wish. And it was probably one of my favorite snipers in the game. And it was actually one of the ones in Destiny 2 that was a really good meta for a long time, especially doing raids and having to do a lot of high damage onto the boss. Whisper of the Worms was kind of like that quintessential sniper rifle. Like, you really use this, and they've done an amazing replication of it, where the entire gun itself in Destiny 2 is black except for the tip of it, which looks like a worm. or the worm head, which is worm is like it's a whole dragon thing and stuff, but the worm gods as well. It's a whole thing, but they've done a fantastic job of replicating that in Sea of Thieves. And then the last one, which hands down would be a must if you were going to bring Destiny 2. There's no reason why you wouldn't bring this gun into Sea of Thieves if you're going to be doing a collaboration with Destiny 2, and that is the Ace of Spades. Ace of Spades, hands down, probably one of the most replicated gun. If you go to any anime convention and you see a weapon vendor there that has like the foam weapons, I guarantee you're going to see like 3 or 4 varieties of Ace of Spades. Ace of Spades is came in with Forsaken. It was one of the early expansions in 2018, and with it was Cade 6's gun, his iconic gun, and you actually got it as a result of the Forsaken expansion, but it is the flintlock pistol in Sea of Thieves, and they have done an exceptional job with this. I as soon as I saw this in game, it became my replacement for the Ebon flintlock. I don't usually not use the Ebon flintlock. It is kind of like the main gun that I have. It's one of the most unique ones, outside of like just like the I'm trying to think of like the ones that have the actual I'm blanking on the word, iron sight. The iron sight on the flintlock pistol, or the obsidian flintlock pistol, is pretty much one of those ones that is what valued it so much, because it gave you that iron sight that most of the other pistols in the game don't. So as soon as I saw that they added Ace of Spades, which they call the Lightbearer pistol, which is kind of a shame. It's a shame they weren't able to actually get that. Not only does it have the iron sight, which is funny because the iron sight on Ace of Spades is actually on the back of the gun towards the hammer, but it's a flintlock. But the coloring and the shape is right there. They've done an amazing job replicating it. They obviously can't create the revolver barrel that the Ace of Spades has because of the nature of the flintlock and the time that these guns were crafted. They hadn't really developed revolving pistol chambers until much later in like history of actual gun crafting and stuff like that. But the Ace of Spades, I will say, is probably it's as accurate as all the other ones, but I love the way that they've developed the actual like aim down sights, because most of the gun is pretty hefty on the sides, but it's very narrow towards the top. And if you're firing it, chances are you're going to have an easier time actually like hitting your shot using this. I'm not saying that it's pay to win, because I think that there are other weapons like the mercenary flintlock pistol that is just as accurate, or at least easy to replicate the shot based on the actual like design of the gun. But I really do love this. The Whisper of the Worm and Ace of Spades, seeing those come to life in Sea of Thieves is really just, it's a beautiful collaboration, and I think that they've done a masterful job with it. The other stuff that they have, and granted the costume and the weapons, those are separated out. So you don't necessarily have to buy the big 27 bundle to be able to get these items. But that's going to be the best bang for your buck if you're looking to try and get all of the stuff that comes in from Destiny 2. But they also have ship sets. And I think that they've done an amazing job with the ship sets. Each ship set, and there's 4 of them, are representative of the 3 different classes in Destiny. So with Destiny, they have kind of the standard MMO style of Trinity. There's a damage dealer, there's a tank, and there's a support. And the 3 of those form a triangle. The healer takes care of the tank, which protects the damage dealer to kill things faster. And with Destiny, they have those split up into 3 different classes. You have the hunter, which is your damage dealer. You have the tank, which is your, the cran eaters. What are they called? Oh my gosh. I'm totally blanking on them. The warlocks And the warlocks are the support class, or the healers, or at least they originally were. Titans are where the warriors were, or the tanks. And then the fourth one is just light bearer, which is represented by the ghost, which your ghost is effectively a small piece of the traveler, which is this godlike entity in this big white orb, which had for a very long time been hanging out just outside of orbit of the last city on Earth, after all the wars and everything that had happened. And the light bearers are created because of the ghosts. The ghosts are these little AI characters who are little machines that fly around, and they look for spirits. They look for people, and they bring their souls back to life. And you are now a guardian, which means you cannot die unless your ghost is destroyed. And otherwise, your ghost will bring you back to life every single time. They'll recreate you if you die, which is why the Guardians were kind of set up to be like the Jedi for Destiny 2. You know, they were the protectors after years and years of war. So with the 4 sets, the way that these have been designed is based on like the iconography of those classes, of those representations. So you have the eagle, you have the snake, and you have the lion. And each of these are representing the different classes. And they've done a really good job of taking the colors and designs from Destiny 2 and implementing them in a way that pays tribute to Destiny 2 in a really beautiful way. And I think they've done a great job of adding these in. When you sail through these, you can truly represent your favorite class in Destiny 2. And especially right now with the Guardian games going on, which is kind of like the for fun Olympics between Destiny classes. Every year they do the Guardian games, and every year most of the people expect Titans to win. Sometimes the Hunters win, sometimes the Warlocks win. It really just depends on who's logging in and contributing their efforts towards the actual like Olympics goals. And right now I think Titans are winning, but with these, having them during the Guardian games, anyone that bounces from Destiny to Sea of Thieves is now going to be able to sail as their class, which is funny because, you know, most people usually have like a mix of class members. I know when I was raiding with Kylia and Zamwow and our friend group over there, Kylia and myself were the 2 warlocks. Everyone else was a Titan. And sometimes we would have the hunter come in for, you know, here and there. But for the most part, it was a bunch of Titans and a couple warlocks. So having these sets represented in Sea of Thieves now is hilarious to kind of see. Like, if you're raiding with your clans are typically, you know, most, I would say most activities are based on 3 people, you know, given that there's 3 classes. So I can imagine a lot of brigs out there with your full fire team kind of sailing around and trying to represent as much of their class as possible with these cosmetics. Or they could just go the straight up light bearer route, which has the default ghost as your figurehead. It has the default ghost as your sails. A really nice kind of triangle patterned white and black ship with the accent of the essential kind of like default ghost, the one that you know is yours, and some really nice ship crests. I'm really impressed with this. They've even got the void poof as the light bearer cannon flare, which I'm never going to use, but at least I know it's in there. And I'm just really surprised. They've just done a fantastic job creating this set. So the hull, the sails, all of that is all kind of built around like the different classes. You do get a hunter capstan, a warlock wheel, and what was the other one? What was the Titan thing? The Titans, the cannons. The Titans were the cannons. So love that they did that. Love that they incorporated the cooperative nature between Destiny players doing fires, doing the different raids, doing the different kind of dungeons. All of that was really, really well done. So That's available. It was something that I was not expecting, and I instantly dropped the ancient coin to pick it all up. And shout out to CD Keys for that really good deal on the $20 worth of ancient coins for $5. Because when this popped up, I was like, oh, it looks cool, but I don't know if I'm gonna. And then I saw the weapons, and I was done. I was like, yeah, no, I must have these. These are now my way to still have a bit of Destiny 2 represented in Sea of Thieves, even though I don't get to play Destiny 2 anymore. It's just got too expensive. I'll be perfectly honest. Paying for seasons, paying for expansions, paying for cosmetics. It just got to be too much. Like, it was about as much as I was spending in Sea of Thieves. And I can really only justify having one game like Sea of Thieves sucking up all my expendable cash for cosmetics. Which is why I was so happy when I found that deal out on CD Keys, because then I was like, oh, I can get 4 times the amount of ancient coin for a fourth of the cost of what I would normally have to spend. Yeah, no, I'll happily jump through whatever hoops I need to be able to get that in a legit way. It doesn't matter how they work out, the system. It works for me. So that's what I'm going to go for. Ace of Spades, Whisper of the Worm, hands down going to be the couple of pairings in PvP that I'm going to be using, along with the Drifter costume from time to time. Fantastic job, Rare. Thank you so much, Adam. Thank you so much for putting this into the game. I was not expecting it, and you've really made my day with this collab. I hope that whenever we get the One Piece collaboration, or who knows, maybe there's like a Sonic one in the future. I don't know. Chapman says no. I say yes. Who knows? You could get like a Knuckles and a pirate ship kind of crossover for Sonic the Hedgehog. It could happen. I'm sure there's eventually going to be a Blizzard World of Warcraft crossover at some point where you have like the Orcish Horde and Sylvanas' warships in there against Anduin's fleet of Alliance, Stormwind's fleet, and the Gnomish helicopters, or something. They'll have something in there, like the Darnassian fleet coming in from Tedrasil or something like that. They'll have like a good World of Warcraft one, I'm sure, at some point. It's just going to take some time. But now that the Microsoft owns Activision Blizzard, that just makes it so much easier. So, for the Horde is all I really got to say about that. Next, let's talk about the latest items to the regular item shops. As always with an update, they tend to release more cosmetics that you can purchase for gold or doubloons, and that you can obtain most of these via commendations or just straight currency. So the stuff that's available that is just straight currency is actually the Azure Scout cosmetics. These are representative of one of the companies, or I don't know if it was like teams, I guess would be a way to put it, with Arena, RIP, and the irony that they're coming out with cosmetics for this stuff now, years after Arena's dead and gone. The Azure Scout pistol, cutlass, blunderbuss, Eye of Reach, rapier, and heavy sword are now available in the weaponsmith shop. Most of these are going to cost, actually 50% of these are going to cost 9,900 gold for the swords. The guns themselves are going to cost 13,400 gold, and they have a light blue or sapphire motif with them, with most of the items looking similar to, I would say, more of like the Sea Dog, or like the Obsidian blunderbuss, the Sea Dog pistol, kind of your atypical cutlass, but most of them, for whatever reason, are wrapped up in the colors or fabric of the Azure Scout. Additionally, we do have some new cosmetics added to the Weapon Emporium shop. That is going to be the Barnacled Heavy Sword, which is tied to the Sea Beast Spear Hunter commendation, something I'll probably cover later on in the episode. Actually, no, I'll see if I can get those out after I talk about each one. The Ocean's Myth Rapier, which is earned by impaled vessels of the waves, which is actually really cool. Looks like kind of a man in the iron mask kind of hilt on this rapier. And the rapier part of the blade itself actually just looks like a unicorn's horn, which is kind of out there. I actually really like it. And then you have the Jagged Jaws throwing knife. The Jagged Jaws throwing knife is earned by completing all hunting spear commendations, not actually tied to the commendation for killing sharks, which I anticipated this was actually connected to. So with the new update, we had hunting spears that came in. So the Sea Beast Spear Hunter, the one for the heavy sword, the barnacled heavy sword, that is to accomplish killing or hitting krakens, megalodons, or ancient megalodons using hunting spears for 15 times. The one for impaled vessels of the waves for the unicorn, or I guess it might actually be a hippocampus, which is the ferryman. That's like the iconography for the ferryman. Might actually be a hippocampus horn, now that I think about it. That is for piercing enemy ships with the hunting spear 15 times. So, and then of course, like the hunting spear commendations themselves, the other one is to hit sharks with hunting spears 15 times as well. A little bit of information about the hunting spears, since I'm on the topic before I go into other stuff. Might as well talk about it now. Hunting spears in the game, those are they're single use. You can retrieve them very much in the same way that you retrieve a throwing knife. They are found at the Hunter's Call. If you talk to the merchant there and you go into the resource tab, you can purchase up to 5 of these for 250 gold. They are something that you can find as loot from like megalodons, krakens, skeleton ships. So I've heard you can also find them on islands from place to place as well too. So you can actually like accomplish finding these out in the world without having to necessarily buy them every single time you go out sailing from the Hunter's Call. You can purchase them from any Hunter's Call representative, whether it be at a sea post or an actual outpost. But much like tridents of dark tides or the Disney sticks, these are considered loot. So they will not go with you between servers if you're diving or if you're sailing through a tall tale portal. If you're doing Hourglass, you will probably, I do not expect that you will be able to retain these to use. So do not anticipate being able to hold on to those the same way that you would if it were like a storage crate. They do have a bit of a drop on them when you throw them, and they do have a light and heavy throw. So the heavier or the longer you hold down on these, you won't necessarily do more damage than you normally would if you were just kind of to do a light throw, but you can get a significant amount of distance when actually throwing these. So they kind of have like a charge up similar to the Trident of Dark Tides or the Disney sticks, where the longer you hold it, the better result you'll have as far as like distance, as opposed to the actual damage range on the damage from the actual Trident. Trying to think if there's something else about those that I need to talk about. Currently, a couple bugs that they know about with those: if you drop them sometimes, or if you throw them down, sometimes you won't be able to aim down sights again. So just be aware that they do have a couple bugs associated with the hunting spears that they're running into. And at the moment, they're currently doing more damage, which is intended. They have bonus damage to actual creatures. So if you're out there trying to get the shark commendation knocked out for the 15 times that you need to hit a shark, they will one shot a shark. If you missed, you can actually go swim and actually like get the spear. But once you hit a shark, it will like just completely one shot them. If you're fighting a megalodon or an ancient meg, if you use one of these while they are charging, it will instantly cancel the charge. They will just duck down and go underneath. They're exceptionally good at dealing with skeleton captains as well, as long as they aren't an Athena skeleton captain, which tend to have that higher hit pool. So sorry, Veil goers, that's not going to help you on that aspect of it. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. They do a significant amount of damage to ships as well. If you fire these at a ship, or if you throw one at a ship, it will stick into the ship and it will do a tier 1 damage to the ship. They do have to be removed to be able to repair the hull. Once they're removed, it will then turn into a tier 3 hull. You can destroy them if you hit the same place with a cannonball in the location that the spear hit, which will then open it up to be a tier 3 hull as well. Likewise, if you hit a spear with another spear, it will then create a larger hull with a spear still in it. It won't do anything more to create damage, but they will still have to actually remove the spear from the hull to be able to repair that. I did see that there was some Sea of Science done. I'm actually going to see if I can grab the name of the person who was kind enough to actually like tag me in this, because I noticed that someone had actually gotten a chance to go Sea of Science this, and I appreciate it. Looney Toku or Tokwe, I have no idea, but they managed to get some footage of what does the hunting spear do when you fire into a skeleton ship. Do skeletons know how to actually like deal with that? I initially thought that they would just put a plank over it and that they hadn't programmed for that. But the truth of the matter is that the way that the AI works for skeletons is that they operate the same way people do. So when they pull out a gun, they hit the button to actually have to like pull out their weapon. And then they have AI to kind of like zoom in and actually look at someone. Similar to repairing a ship, they actually have to pull out a piece of wood. They actually have to hold the wood in place, and they do actually have to like hammer the wood back into the actual or onto the actual hull to be able to stop the leak. With this, they do have to interact with the spear. They will remove the spear. It will create a tier 3, and then they will instantly start planking it up, planking. They will instantly start sealing the hole with a plank. Yes, planking. So thank you to Looney for that. Definitely appreciate it. And I'm trying to think if there was anything else about the hunting spears that I wanted to let you all know about that. I think that's it. I think that as far as, if you're looking to find out how much damage it does to a person, if you were to throw it or shoot them with shoot it with a cannon, as far as I know, 75 damage. So it's not a one shot, but it is pretty darn close. You could do a one shot and a throwing knife or a double barrel pistol or a flintlock and be able to easily kill someone, having actually like hit them with the hunting spear. So good luck with that, because there's a lot of wind up on that as well too. All right, getting back to the original topic, which was the Azure Scout cosmetics that are in the shop. Let's head over to the equipment shop. We're going to be talking to Trevor today, and we're going to be talking about the Azure Scout equipment. Now, this is as far as I know, it's the second arena set. I think it was the original was the Flaming Jackal set that we first got. So the Azure Scout is out now. Can't wait to find out what the good boy set's going to be like. But these are available. You've got your typical equipment with the bucket, the compass, the fishing rod, lantern, pocket watch, shovel, speaking trumpet, spyglass, tankard, banjo, drum, hurdy-gurdy, and concertina. All of these vary in price, anywhere from 1,250 gold all the way up to 7,500 for the fishing rod. I don't know why the fishing rod is so much more. That seems bizarre to me. The next one below that is the drum and the banjo at 4,950. But these vary between cost. It's all gold, so you can go in and actually pick those up. But it's kind of nice. So let's go ahead and since we're on the outpost, since we're actually heading around from place to place, let's head over to the clothing shop to take a look at the Azure Scout clothing cosmetics. Cooper's got us covered on that front, and looking at these, wait, did I actually buy these? I might have actually bought these. If I bought these, I apologize in advance, because I did not pay attention to the actual cost of them. So it doesn't look like these are actually out for the clothing cosmetics. So let's take a look and see. Cooper doesn't have anything else for sale except for a handful of dresses that I haven't just like actually purchased yet. And God, man, the Regal Fortune stuff. If you guys don't know, the cap for the Chest of Fortune and Reaper's chests all went up again for the season. You've had an opportunity to kind of work on those, but they have the Regal Fortune stuff that's available through them, and definitely very jealous of how they look. They did a good job with these, although wearing the drifter costume, they do not properly represent, but those are all available in there as well too. Funny enough, I still have my Chest of Fortune disguise that is missing, which I need to get grade 3 in Fortune's favor commendations, which I think is the sheer obviousness that I do not get the Chest of Fortune too often. I really don't. In fact, I think I've only got, it doesn't show me. It doesn't actually like give you the number in there. I wish there was a way. Rare, if you're listening to this, I don't know how hard this is. I imagine it's got to be pretty hard. I wish there was a way that when I actually go in to a clothing store and I talk to, say, like Cooper here, who's got cosmetics that are tied to commendations, if I could actually see, like, have a way to click on a link, click on that item, and then have it actually open up the commendation that it takes to be able to unlock that, and then have a way to go back quickly as well too. Because currently right now, if I'm looking at the Chest of Fortune disguise, earned by hitting grade 3 in Fortune's favor, I know I'm probably in grade 2 right now, so I just haven't actually gotten those turned in. So things like that would be a great quality of life feature in my mind of what would be nice to actually have brought to the game. I'm not sure that that's something that's even possible, but it's definitely something that I think would be really awesome. Real quick before I forget, I did want to let everyone know that if you are a pirate legend, first off, congratulations. Secondly, there are things down in the tavern it's not associated with the hourglass stuff. So if you are a pirate legend, doesn't matter if you've done any of the hourglass or not, there are 2 new swords available at the Pirate Lord. Ramsey himself has 2 obsidian blades. One is the legendary heavy sword. The other is the legendary rapier. Both are going to cost you 94,500 gold. But if you head down into the Pirate Legend Tavern and you speak with the Pirate Lord in the first tab, you should be able to find those at the bottom next to the hairdos, and it should be right after the Athena or the legendary sword. These are modeled after, I believe, the original legendary sword, which was available only to people who had completed arena and managed to max out those wins, which, gosh, now I'm trying to remember if it was 250 wins or 500 wins. I can't quite remember. I know they nerfed it at one point, but I can't quite recall what the number was back in the day. But those are available. If you like them, feel free to jump in, grab those. I think they look really good. I'm really happy with the rapier and the heavy sword look. So I'm looking forward to, or I've already picked them up, but I'm looking forward to seeing how they look in action in screenshots and stuff like that. So just wanted to make sure that you were aware and you guys got a heads up on that. So definitely head down, get those 2 swords as well. All right, let's talk about the March update on the docket. We did get the March update. This is 3.3.1 for season 15, releasing content for the March portion of this. And we've already talked about hunting spears. So I want to go in and actually talk about some of the other stuff. So ambient wildlife is something that is kind of new to Sea of Thieves. We've always had like the animals for the Hunter's Call, or not Hunter's Call, excuse me. Merchant Alliance. We've always had animals from Merchant Alliance. We've always had noises of animals out and about. We've always had seagulls over flotsam, or after like ships have sunk, things like that, shipwrecks. But we haven't really had a whole lot in the way of like actual ambient life. You can go to a different island and you can see one of the 3 types of animals on them for the most part. Most will typically have 2 different types for that. But, outside of that, there's not really a whole lot of life in Sea of Thieves. And for a long time, a lot of folks, including myself, have asked for like different types of sea life, different types of animals, things like that, to be able to just have in the game, just to kind of spice things up a bit. And Rare has managed to get those into the actual workflow and actually get those out into the game. So now if you're wandering about, you might find that there are some little geckos on rocks or on barrels. You may find that there are some jellyfish now hanging out in the shallows of waters. And as far as I know, they don't actually do any damage or anything. They're just, there is a type of ambience. But if you do go into the water in the shallows, you might actually come across some jellyfish now, which is kind of cool. One of the other things that they've added to is seagulls will now actually kind of sail along, or not sail. It's kind of a weird way to think about it. They will now be flying along with your ship. And it's kind of cool to actually see that. Additionally, if you happen to go out and go into a cave on an island, there's a good chance that you may see a bunch of bats fly out of the cave as if they were disturbed and then fly back in. So a few different things here and there that they've just done to try and bring a little bit more life to Sea of Thieves, something I appreciate 100%. It's something that I think there's so much more that they could do that I would love to see them actually kind of push forward with. I think it'd be fantastic to have different types of ambient life aside from just what's currently available in the game. Come to islands, come to the waters. How many of us would love to have like porpoises or dolphins sailing alongside us or swimming alongside us in the ship? How many people would love to see a humpback whale kind of a la Assassin's Creed Black Flag from back in the day, would just, surfacing, breaching the water and going back down, or just even like a blowhole, like a mist coming up in the distance. And you just know there's a whale out there. If they be something like that, it'd be fantastic. Different types of fish would be really cool. It'd be nice to have like little eels or sea, I don't know, what are they called? Clownfish. It'd be nice to have like clownfish kind of in and about the world. Stuff like that. I think it would be really fun. It'd be really cool to be able to have like aspects of that brought to Sea of Thieves beyond what they've already managed to do. If you've put in the time and effort this far, why not continue down that path and see what else you could come up with that would bring just some little ambience, a little bit of like secondary movement to the game beyond just like what our pirates are creating. As well as like the little creatures that we've had in the game at the moment. We usually have like enemies on islands, but we don't really have anything that kind of like, where are the, I guess it would be a really good example. Where are the monkeys that we have tons and tons of pets for? It would be fantastic if, we could see monkeys kind of hanging out like in trees as we're going around. Obviously they don't have to be something that you interact with, but, having a monkey in a tree, kind of like in the not Guybrush. What are those? What are the Monkey Island tall tales? Would be fantastic. Having stuff like that. Having trying to think of some of the other pets that we have. Having an owl resting in some of the locations on like the outposts. Just kind of like hanging out on like a sign or something like that, or even like a crow hanging out on a sign. And there 100% doesn't need to be something that is interactable. It doesn't have to be something that does anything. It's just something there to add a little bit more life to the game at the moment, which feels less barren than it did, but still fairly devoid. Like I'm running around on an island most of the time. I'm usually going to see the animals that are going to be there for Merchant Alliance, and that's about it. Now we've got, like geckos and jellyfish and things like that. But Outside of that, there's not a whole heck of a lot really greeting me on islands. And to have like some toucans flying around, or some parakeets, to have some cats yowling in the background on an outpost near a tavern, something like that, be fun. It'd be fun. Doesn't need to happen, but I think it'd be really cool to have something like that. Alrighty, so some of the other stuff that I wanted to make sure I covered in the patch notes. They did say that the Wild Seas commendations and rewards did have some new stuff, things that I've talked about with, I believe, the different weapons that are available in the earlier part of the episode. They did talk about the fishing voyage improvements. So the fishing maps provided on Captain's fishing voyages now provide crews with only a partial piece of the island near the fishing location, making it more of a challenge to locate the fishing spots. Crews on a fishing voyage will no longer find that they are attacked by emergent threats on the island when with the fishing spots. So kind of interesting that they're going about with that. And then Ancient Megalodons did get a bit of a balance. So the Feared Red Maw and the Barnacle Dread, or Big Red and Barney, now take reduced damage from a blowpipe's poison dart. I think that's fair. To be perfectly honest, blowpipe poison darts don't seem to be the thing that I would be like going to if I'm trying to take out a giant megalodon with a ship. I feel like that, that to me is fine, given how quickly you can start pumping those things in them. And then the other thing that I wanted to call out as well too, this was over, actually they might have actually put it in the fixes that they, let's see, did they actually put this in the fixes? I hope they did. Yes, they did. Okay, so Ancient Megalodon fixes. The commendation progress for defeating the Ancient Megalodons is now awarded to all crews participating in the encounter by dealing damage, not just the crew that lands the final hit. This was something that was reported at the beginning of the season that we had noticed. What I will say is, if you had killed Megalodons, or the Ancient Megalodons, those are tracked in your pirate milestones. Make sure that you go and double check how many it lists for those if you didn't get the killing blow. Because when I went in to actually take a look at this commendation when the fix had come through with the patch update, I noticed that the two red moths that I'd killed that were not counting have actually shown up on the commendation. So they did retroactively apply any kills that you participated in to that commendation. So it may actually be completed for you if you come into the game after the patch and it just recognizes that it is done. If it isn't, and you know you've killed that many, or at least participated in killing that many, you might need to do that thing that Rare has you do from time to time, where they ask you to kill one more just to have the counter tick over, and then it will register like the retroactive ones. While attacks by ancient megalodons can occasionally overturn a ship, the frequency of this occurrence has now been reduced, as well as the ancient megalodons should now be able to navigate smoothly around the Fort of the Damned. Makes sense. Typically in the Fort of the Damned, it was a thing that was, from the Sea of the Damned. So were they. So it only makes sense that they would naturally be able to go through it, being that they were, from the sea. I'm trying to make up excuses for it, but I'm glad to see that they're fixing that. Defeating an ancient megalodon will now be recorded in the captain's logbook, which was something that wasn't popping up before. And then firing a grapple gun at a barnacled dread, or the Barney, will no longer cause the tether to attach to a distant location. Crews can now progress the "Who Needs a Bigger Boat" commendation when attacking an ancient megalodon with a cannon rowboat. Captains defeating an ancient megalodon will now progress the feared pirate milestones and ship milestones. That was something that personally I hadn't had any into any issues with. It was actually how I was keeping track of how many I'd killed. And then crews defeating an ancient megalodon should now consistently find the Hunter of the Feared Red Maw and the Hunter of the Barnacle Dread commendations progressing correctly, kind of in line with the first aspect of this, where we talked about how they were now actually participating, getting the award for participation as opposed to the final kill. All right, as we're kind of working through the rest of these patch notes, I did want to cover a few of these because I feel like, you know, I can't make it through all of them. Let's be honest, there are a lot of ones that are tied to audio or visual things that are minor tweaks here and there, anywhere from, like, you know, previewing a disguise within the vanity chest now correctly shows the pirate inside the disguise, all the way down to players wearing Carla's costume should now find the medallion appears correctly on pirates of all body sizes. Stuff like that. After skeleton fort key is inserted into the vault, it will no longer appear to float in midair. All those kind of things definitely in there. If you see one and you're not quite sure, I would definitely urge you to take a look at the show notes just to make sure that the release notes have the bug that you're running into listed. If not, it's a quick Control F find on the website there. Some of the other things that I did want to talk about that I figured would address attention to deals with the actual environment. Mercy's End Fortress now has an armory. Son of a gun. They finally threw an armory in there. It was one of the fortresses that I was always like, how come I can't change my weapons inside? All of the other ones have this. I can't change my weapons inside Mercy's End Fortress. Kind of cool that they actually put that in there. Something I would always disliked about Mercy's End in particular. Players making their way onto a skeleton sloop will now find they can safely navigate the ship without hitting invisible surfaces. I'm so glad about that. Walking into skeletons found deep within the Reaper's lair should no longer cause players' camera to stutter. Didn't know that was a thing. Can't explain why. When descending to the Shrine of Flooded Embrace, which is the shark one, players should no longer find they can pass through certain doors before they are unlocked. Which, that's fine. I definitely get that. Glad that they got that fixed up though. All skeleton vaults. This actually ties into a thing that they're going to be changing in the future that they haven't really like divulged, but all skeleton vaults have received a polish pass in meaning that they've kind of gone back and made sure that the tweaks that they made, are just kind of like QA'd a little bit better, ensuring that their contents are completely hidden from the outside and the cracks in the flooring blend with the environment. So they're effectively making sure that the way that you could look into skeleton vaults to be able to determine what kind of stuff was in there, they've made sure that that is now taken out, that you are no longer able by any means to find out what is inside a skeleton vault before you actually crack open the door, which I'm totally fine with, especially if you go back to listen, I think it was last month's community episode where we talked about them. Gosh, it might have been 2 months ago now. I'm trying to remember. But one of the community episodes that we talked to in the last couple months, we talked about the Chest of Fortune potentially being added as a percentage spawn for all skeleton forts. In which case it would make things a little more interesting. Not confirmed, purely speculation, but that's kind of the working theory right now. And then they had some of the known issues that they had on the patch notes, sending you over to the forums. So with that being said, I did want to drop over to the actual forums so that we could take a look and see what Sonic Bob has to say. He goes on to say in the actual patch, with our mid-season update launching yesterday, I wanted to drop in and share a few updates on what we are prioritizing our efforts following the update, or where they are. First off, let's talk about game performance. We've seen, they've seen fairly consistent reports that with March's update, players are feeling a performance regression, not the improvements that they had expected. There has been some sizable changes behind the scenes here, from rebuilding of ships through to treasure and trinket optimizations. While change often comes with some risks, they are disappointed that this hasn't delivered the positive results we'd hoped for, especially after such an improved February update. The team is already investigating as a priority, digging into live servers and client reports to try and identify the root cause of the impact, though there is some correlation with those most affected running AMD hardware. I feel a little targeted there. Further investigation is currently required. Drew says that he has no news to share on this heading into the weekend, but the team is focusing on this as a priority, as we can clearly see the impact it has on our play sessions. He also goes on to say that they hope to update players once they have more information. So I appreciate that for the game performance. Also goes on to talk about hunting spears. With the introduction of the latest throwable, Rare has been reviewing the feedback and bug reports, and the team has begun working on addressing these issues. We quickly saw ships sailing around looking like porcupines littered with spears, and reports of a clear item duplication issue surfaced. The team has temporarily reduced the gold and reputation rewards for handing in these spears while they address the issue with the duplication. So feel free to keep using the spears on your enemies rather than hoarding them for sale. The team is also working on a fix for, I was about to jump into my thoughts on that, but I'll finish out this little section here. The team is also working on a fix for issues where players can sometimes become unable to aim down sights after throwing a hunting spear. Outside of bugs, the team is monitoring the feedback on how this new throwable is settling in as part of the balance across the broader experience. Nothing to share here yet, but rest assured the team is seeing your feedback. Drew, I'm gonna share my thoughts about feedback in a second. The first thing I want to touch on is the porcupine ships. It's hilarious. I 100% love the look of it. And I'm glad that the team decided to reduce the gold and reputation rewards as opposed to disabling them. If they're working for the most part, please just let us have have it working in game, because most people probably aren't going to be messing with the duplication thing. Most people probably don't even know that there's a duplication issue in the game. Probably not even affecting them in the slightest, but definitely I'm appreciative that the team is working on the fix, and that instead of turning it off, they just reduced the golden reputation. Hell, at this point, honestly, you could turn off the golden reputation for them and not have any golden reputation for them as well. Like, I'm totally, completely fine if there's a duplication bug in the game. If you shut off all golden reputation for them, I understand. Totally fine. I buy storage crates knowing that sometimes they're not going to sell to the vendor. Totally works for me. I just let it go. It becomes a karma crate at that point. The other thing that I wanted to touch on was the aim down sights issue. Thank you for addressing that. I know that my community had been dealing with that issue, and they wanted to see if there was a way to get that addressed. I'm glad that you guys called that out. Very appreciative. The one thing that I did want to offer as feedback, though, is not necessarily feedback on how the hunting spear feels or the damage that it deals, or any of those issues. It is purely how you acquire them. And it's not that I have issue with you being able to find them out in the world, or being able to find them from shipwrecks, megalodons, krakens, skeleton ships, things like that. It's engaging with the Hunter's Call emissaries to purchase them. And it's not so much that I have an issue with having to go to a Hunter's Call emissary. It purely is something that has to do with purchasing them from them. We've seen plenty of issues with storage crates that continuously bug out, where you can't claim a storage crate from Merchant Alliance emissary to be able to run around and get sups, which I hate that word. Which also, if you guys are out there sailing and you use that, please try to hold off from using that around me, because I will start turning it into something where I will 100% tell you, if we get a hole in the ship, I'm going to scream and yell that I'm using sups to do reps down below all the time. It's going to be really annoying. But yeah, getting supplies off of islands with storage crate, random rant aside, can be really, really frustrating when the quickest turnaround to get that fixed is buying a trinket from the shipwright. If that bug could ever get fixed, I would love you forever. But the idea that I had, going back to hunting spears, was I think it would be fantastic if each Hunter's Call emissary had a barrel with hunting spears in it. And you go up to the barrel, you click on a button that says buy hunting spear, and it confirms. You buy it, and then you instantly have harpoon in hand, and then you can drop it. You can like interact with barrel again, kind of similar to what we used to have when barrels were just bananas, just cannonballs, and just planks. It was very quick to engage with that. And I know why we went with the barrel 2.0 system, and still to this day think that it was the right decision to go with, based on how you guys had originally tested it with, you know, like the betas and alphas and stuff. But I think it would be really nice if there was a way that we could engage with the hunting spears that felt more natural to Sea of Thieves, given that, you know, you grab you grab sail cleats to be able to adjust the sails. You grab the pulleys to be able to turn the sails. You grab the wheel to be able to spin the ship. You have to rotate the anchor, the capstan, to be able to raise the anchor. So much that we engage with Sea of Thieves is done tangibly or like manually. I would love it if there was a barrel of spears next to each Hunter's Call emissary that was an interact, something that was, you know, similar to having like an interaction with an NPC anyway, but it shortcuts the necessary levels of interface that you have to go down into to be able to get to the hunting spear stuff. It's a purchasable item. It's something that I would love to be able to just like walk up to a barrel. It's got a bunch of spears in it. I know that I can get 5, something similar to how the message board works. You go up to the message board, you can get 5 maps from the message board. You click on the map that you want to get. It automatically loots it into your quest log, and you've got it. Same thing with the hunting spears. Put a barrel there, put a bunch of spears in there, let me interact with it. It confirms if I want to purchase one. It takes the gold out of there, and I get a spear when I complete the transaction, and I can drop the spear or throw it into my ship if I want to. You know, I have it right there. That way I can avoid having to go to the merchant or to the Hunter's Call representative, forget that I'm not getting a promotion, go into the actual shop, go over to resources, and then have to then go through and purchase each one individually as its own little weird icon. I would love that. I would love a more tangible experience with the hunting spear. So that's my feedback. It's a completely shift in design. I understand, but I think it would be more of an integration the way that the message board is. And I mean, I still have tons of ideas on what would fix the message board, but hunting spears I feel like would be an easy get. Real quick, some of the other things that I did want to address on from Drew's really well typed out post here. It just says that Hunter's Call reputation corrections, the various Hunter Call reputation corrections, both exploit progress removal and prior missing progress, have now all been completed. These weren't able to be completed during the maintenance window on March 27th, but as of this post that he did, which, let's see what this was, 3 days ago, all players should now be sitting on their correct Hunter's Call reputation. Other issues, they are wrapping up some of the other issues that they've seen. Inconsistent delivery of harpoon spears purchased from Hunter's Call representatives is being investigated. Please add Merchant Alliance to that list. Please, whatever is causing the issue for Hunter's Call, apply that patch to Merchant Alliance for the love of everything sacred in Sea of Thieves. Molly seriously needs to give up those storage crates. Pet pigs. Pet pigs and outfits displaying visual issues at a distance are being fixed. The outfits for pigs are so on point. I think I bought the Kraken one because the little Robin Hood hat for the Kraken one looks so good that it makes me feel like it was modeled after those little pigs in Disney's Robin Hood, the one with the fox and the bear, where like Robin was the fox and not Baloo. Little John was the anthropomorphic one. The pigs in that look like it just looks like they're straight up. It's adorable. I really love the outfits there. The light bearer pistol is getting tweaks to its aim to better align with the iron sights. I feel like that's still I still feel like that's pretty spot on though. I still feel like it's relatively accurate. I feel like all the pistols are always like a little bit off, but the iron sight on there, I feel like it's good. But it's always, it's Sea Thieves, it's wonky. But the Jagged Jaws throwing knives were delivered earlier than planned and will require commendations due out in April in that update before they can be unlocked. I appreciate that. I understand. It's kind of nice seeing that the that is tied to stuff that we'll get. Totally understand. I'm fine with this. Then finally, they're seeing some players not receiving the Regal Duke ship set after purchasing the Sea of Thieves X edition, which is the most premium one. The team is aware and working on addressing the issues so we can get these items into your hands. While this clearly isn't an exhaustive list of everything we've seen, it should help demonstrate we are focusing our efforts following the update. He says, thanks again for all the feedback and bug reports so far as we've rolled out our latest update. Our priority is tracking down these reported issues and getting us back into a good place. So thank you, Drew. Very much appreciate it. Outside of that, let me take a drink here and we'll come right back with some interesting information from Mike Chapman. All right. So Mike's being a little chatty over on Twitter, as appreciated. And, Drew and him have been very, very kind with their time. Definitely appreciate that. But Hilarious, who, if you guys have seen online, maybe potentially have seen his drawings and of course like Poonie and stuff, very popular on social media, has talked about how crates of precious curls are nice, but wanted to know if there was ever an opportunity for us to be able to find pearls within clamshells, and posted an image of a pretty big clamshell that had different colored pearls, varying anywhere from common to rare to legendary, with equated gold values on top of them. And Mike said that originally the idea of pearls within clamshells was planned for sunken kingdoms, both large clams, even pirates could get trapped in, to slightly smaller versions you could also pick up and use as organic treasure chests. It just never made it past the prioritization, but maybe one day. And I always thought it was really cool to the main thought of that. And I was really interested to see that he had kind of, showed that this was something that they originally had set out to do. And I really am glad for that, because it's ideas like that really impress me. And I'm really glad that they were able to do, because when I go on to Twitter and I say, hey, Mike, could the next crossover be Knuckles, manning the ship of a galleon from a toy that came out, it's a toys. Sonic Prime had toys out with Knuckles being a captain of a ship. For some reason, I have no clue. It's called the Angel's Voyage ship. No clue. Don't ask. No idea. But it's got a trap door, which I feel like Sea of Thieves needs more trap doors. He just looked at that and put the Jack Sparrow from the third Pirates of the Caribbean movie gif up of Jack looking very weird and then running away and just saying nope, 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 nope. And I appreciated that, because at least I know that he's not just going to take every single recommendation from online and say, hey, that could be something that could happen in the future. I'm okay with him telling me no. I'm totally fine with him telling me that's not going to happen. But at the end of the day, I really like that there's opportunity for everything in there. And seeing that Mike and Drew are consistently working on adding stuff that we haven't seen to the game has been really, really nice. I'm, again, just going back to the Destiny 2 collaboration, it was a big surprise. We did see that there is an upcoming Xbox exclusive that is going to be getting sales. This was something that was leaked online. And I think it's been confirmed how to actually get access to them. I'm not going to talk about that until I start to see some more official posts about it. But It is nice to know that there is some collaboration going on with other games again in Sea of Thieves that may or may not be tied to stuff that Xbox is doing. Because at the end of the day, honestly, I think some of the collaborations that we've seen in the game have been fantastic. And I really love that. And I can't wait for them to kind of become more prolific. I'm looking forward to when folks finally get their One Piece. I'm looking forward to when folks finally get their Assassin's Creed. I'm looking forward to all of the potential piratey styled events or things that could happen. I'm still waiting for that Skull and Bones crossover. Like, that's got to happen at some point. There has to be some sort of like, congratulations, your competitor, you tried. We're going to do a little thing to kind of say like, hey, here's your stuff in our game. Thanks for making another pirate game kind of thing. But at the end of the day, like, I think a lot of people get a kick out of them. I know I do. I know a lot of people don't, but at the same time, this isn't Call of Duty. You're not having to sit there looking at Ninja Turtles in your Call of Duty game, your military shooter. It's Sea of Thieves. And it's all just explained away with people having good imaginations when creating ship liveries and stuff. So hopefully we're able to have fun with it and not have people try and like darken our day with it, because I'm enjoying it. But I think that's it. I'm going to take a quick look at the rest of my notes and just make sure that there isn't anything that I missed. I almost forgot from the developer update that came out on the 25th. Drew did go into some changes that were going on. Most of these are like exploits that were fixed with like ancient coins during the community weekend. They did talk about like some of the ladder launch things that are going on. Some of these are not like things that are going to get people banned, but just know that, it's not something that you're going to be able to do forever. And Drew talks about like, hey, some of these things we could be doing, we could be doing suspensions for, we could be doing bans for, but we'd rather focus on continuing to improve the game as opposed to monitoring all of the activity that's going on. To which I understand, because there's only so much time in the day that they have for this kind of stuff. And unless they can justify hiring more staff for this particular thing, it's not something that is going to really get addressed the way that most people would probably call out for. And unfortunately, that's just the case. If I were looking at something like World of Warcraft, they have an entire launch center or like command center that looks like something out of NASA that shows all of the servers they have, all of the health of the servers when they're starting to get DDoS attacks. They have full GM teams that are going in and looking at tickets. They have auto ban systems that are going in place as well too. Huge teams that are dedicated just for the treatment and of people who are trying to cheat or exploit the system, and they're very on top of that. But that is a very large team that has been running for a very long time and continuously ends up being like one of the biggest growths for Activate or for Blizzard in general. So and if you guys wonder like how much money they're pulling in just for the sake of like argument, they released a $90 cosmetic that most people are thinking somewhere in the neighborhood of 19 what was it? I think it was like 19% of the community had purchased, which given the player base was going to equate out to something like $19 million or something like that. It was ridiculous. The amount of people that bought a $90 cosmetic, or auction, not an auction house. It was the Brontosaurus that gave them access to the mail and to the auction house. So it's one of those things where it's like that team can justify that amount of work for this security and enforcement team. They also talked about how their enforcement system is going to be changing. This is interesting because I didn't realize that they were still on the current system of 3 strikes and you're out. It is not a very good system because minor infractions can essentially add up over the course of your lifetime playing the game, and with how long the game has been out, you could get 2 infractions, early on in the game, change your ways, have 1 minor infraction now, and that would cause a lifelong ban. And something like that is something that there's a gauge. There should be an idea of like, what kind of infractions are we talking? Something that deserves a suspension or something that actually warrants a ban. So they're going to be changing their system to the system that Xbox introduced back in 2023, which I'm pretty sure I actually talked about on this show, because at the current moment, the way that Xbox has their enforcement system, it's a point-based system, and it goes from like 0 to 10, or I think it's 0 to 12. Let me take a look here, because I pulled up the article, and shout out to Godhammer because he actually linked the article, and I was like trying to remember where I was reading this before. But yeah, there's like a 1 through 8 system. It's the number of like things that cause you to get a point on your system, and it varies. It's not necessarily going to be like, using bad language is going to cause like 1 point. Cheating is going to be probably 3 points. Something that's inappropriate, or harassment, bullying, things like that, hate speech, stuff like that's going to rank up higher than just cheating, things like that. And the more you do this, the more that it will build up to that point, that 8-point system, where it's basically like saying like, okay, you've done enough stuff in a short enough time that is going to warrant you actually getting this. And previously, Rare had never explained where your standing was. They never said like how many strikes you have or anything like that. Like, I have no clue if I have any strikes on me. There's a good chance I probably do, and I just don't know about it, because it's just one of those things. Like, I have no idea. I would be happy to know that I don't. As like an Xbox ambassador, I don't think I've ever been reported for stuff, but I'm willing to bet that someone has tried to report me for cheating or something like that. So that's why I would imagine that, someone would probably do something. But if they actually did the research, chances are they're going to find out that the only thing I cheat at is being young looking for all of my life. But outside of that, and maybe cheating on diets. I'll cheat on diets from time to time. And leg day. I'm not doing leg day. Sorry. But the point system's going to be nice. Going to be a lot more granular. It's not something that's going to stick to your account forever. So after a certain period of time, you'll start to lose points so that you can kind of like go back down. It's kind of like, it's a weird reference, but it reminds me of the scene in the first Mission Impossible where Ethan Hunt is like in the air ducts and they have to stay below a certain decibel, and they're like toast, and toast is like the one that peaks it. So they have to stay underneath toast for whatever word. So yeah, you can go up to a certain temp, or you can go up to a certain point, and then you're going to get banned. But over time, those things should fall off your account, and you should be able to regain a good status going forward. So they're going to be looking at accounts that have been banned in the past and starting to like address whether or not these people should have actually been banned, or if they should have just gotten a suspension. The nice thing is that there's going to be a lot more transparency available to you. So you can go to the Sea of Thieves website, you can take a look at your account, and you can actually take a look and see. Now, this isn't implemented yet, so don't go do it now because it's not out. But eventually, they'll have it so that you can go and take a look at your account and see how many points do you have. Do you have 2 points because somebody reported you for the bad language, the profanity that you used, And this all kind of goes back to the idea that this is a code of conduct, not just by Rare, but also through Xbox. And as you're playing Xbox games, and believe it or not, Steam probably has these as well, and I know PlayStation does, there is a code of conduct that you agree to within the terms of service. So if you want to play the game, you have to abide by the community standards. And this is one of those situations where it's like, look, no one's asking you to be an angel all the time. Everyone's going to get heated in the moment. Everyone's going to say things they regret, but there should be a baseline of, if someone's being a jerk to you, and I see it online all the time. I think, I see people talking about how for some reason, adventurers gotten real salty lately for no good reason. And to be perfectly honest, I think it's ridiculous that it's a pirate game. Like, it's okay to get frustrated at losing, and it's okay to express that, but you don't have to get personal and you don't have to attack other people. It's just a pirate game. So I don't think anyone listening to this is going to really be too concerned about this, because you all are fantastic human beings and you take care of each other and you're nice to each other. But I wanted to let you know that if you do see people out there, that they are going to still be subject to this, and the system is going to be nuanced enough to help make sure that they have an opportunity to correct action. You know, it's the whole goal of reprimanding is to correct the action. There has to be consequence for actions if those actions go against what the community guidelines are, or the code of conduct is, or what the terms of service lay out, or what the the binding contractual obligations that we have with our accounts when we are playing this. And a lot of people that break these genuinely do not care about their account. I saw the other day somebody posting on Xbox about how their Call of Duty account, they were willing to let it get banned to test if a cheat that enabled skins that you had not earned was able to do so mid-match. And it was like the guy was using a skin that he had unlocked through a cheat, and the next time he respawned, his entire skin was default. So it's one of those things, like, there are people that don't care as much as you don't care about how serious it gets in a pirate game with pixels and play pretend. You know, other people are the same way with accounts, and they'll jump in, throw hacks on. They don't care. It's to them, it's all fun and games. I don't know why or how they're buying copies of the game or getting access to the game the way they are, but for whatever reason, that's what they like to do. It's kind of like Lost Farmers in Arena, or not Arena. God, I miss Arena. In Hourglass, they just go do their thing. They don't care win or lose for the match. They're just gonna farm their loss. And to them, it's not about the honorable fight in the PvP match. It's getting their curse and engaging with it as little as possible for their own particular reasons. So, I think that is actually it. All right, pirates. So yeah, it looks like we've covered pretty much everything in the patch notes, as well as the developer update and the forum notes that we were able to find. They are working on patches for some of the things that we do know for sure that is issues with the game. So make sure to keep reporting those if you run into them. Otherwise, look forward to the next hotfix or the next update, and we'll be able to go over those patch notes next time. I would imagine that we're probably going to see some news, like I mentioned earlier on, about some stuff coming out later this coming month. And I don't really think we're going to really see a whole lot as far as April Fool's Day. I think April Fool's Day might actually be a bit quieter of a day. But with that, pirates, that's going to do it for this episode. So thank you to everyone for hanging out with me. Thank you so much for listening, for supporting, for hanging out when I go out sailing and doing streams. Definitely appreciate that. But that's going to do it for this episode. So pirates, thank you. I love you. And I look forward to sailing with you on the Sea of Thieves.